Hello everybody, Matt Bull here, MD of ActionCOACH in Loughborough, here with another episode of the Business Spotlight series. And we're very lucky today to have Stephen Tighe from Ocean King Limited on this episode. How are you today, Stephen?
Very well, Matt.
Excellent, excellent. Let's get started then. Can you just tell everybody a little bit about what Ocean King does and your role in the business?
Well, the first line is we sell prawns. So my name's Stephen Tighe, Managing Director of Ocean King, and we're a family business. We've been going for 26 years, and we started selling prawns. Myself and my father in a van, driving around in trucks, and today we import from all over the world. So we import from Vietnam, we have prawns from Ecuador, India, and if you've had prawns in a restaurant, you've probably eaten our prawns.
Excellent, excellent. So firstly, congratulations, 26 years in business is an amazing achievement. I'm going to ask you to go back to the start, if that's all right. I mean, did you start the business with your father, or had he already started it and you joined in? What was it at the start that triggered the beginnings of Ocean King?
So my father, we're a immigrant family, Vietnamese refugees, came over on the boats back in '79 when I was 18 months old. And my father has always worked. He worked three different jobs. So one of them, he worked in morgue at one point, worked in Chinese takeaway, and another one was a Chinese wholesaler. So and in essence, he was driving in a van, delivering prawns for a different company back in the day, and they were quite limited in what they did as a company, the previous company, and they went to administration possibly I think it's 96 or 97, and at that point my father thought it'd come out, but that coincided with me finishing uni, and so we started Ocean King in 97. Bought a van ourselves, working on the back of what my father had already done for a good 8 years, just in the prawn industry. But from that point onwards, we sold prawns and we developed our product list as each year went by, as each brother came into the business after they graduated as well. And so now, though I do say we sell prawns, that's what we specialise in, that's what we import, and that's what we're great at. We are a one-stop shop for everything a catering establishment needs. So some of the stuff we introduced later on was stuff like beef. We have contracts with one of the biggest beef suppliers in the UK, ABP. We source directly our pork products, chicken, anything, or all meat products that a restaurant would require. Then more recently, within the last 10 years, I'd say recent, it has been 10 years, we introduced produce and then dry goods. And so, when I say produce, bean sprouts, green peppers, or veg, and then dry goods would be stuff like your rice and noodles, your oils, even ketchup, Coca-Cola, we do everything.
Excellent, amazing. I mean, it's an amazing growth story. We'll come on to the more recent growth you've had, but it's always really interesting for the viewers this series. If you could take us back to those early days, what were the key challenges that you experienced, if you can remember, 26, 24 years ago that you went through? Because starting up that's the biggest decision people make. But then actually making it work, those first 3 years we know are key. What do you remember about that time?
I remember one of the first things I did was go into a bank it was towards the end of my university period, and we wanted to purchase a truck. I needed 50 grand from the bank, and at that point, I couldn't give any sort of personal guarantee. I didn't even know what personal guarantee was. Any sort of leverage of my business, there's no debenture, literally nothing. And just to plead the bank with 50 grand, it was a brick wall. So we were lucky in those early days that because my father had been in the trade for as long, he had a handful of customers who liked what he did, liked his service, but wanted to support my father. And so from memory, there was a couple of customers who were able to give a personal loan just to get us started. And it was from scenarios like that, and even to today, it's understanding that sometimes it's not about going down, to the bank and asking, because there's so many stipulations, so many tick boxes that you need. It's reaching out to friends, family, even customers to see within our own network what resources we have access to.
Brilliant. So that, I suppose, resourcefulness, that finding a way, has been embedded in the organisation from word go, by the sounds of it. Has that continued through, would you say, to the kind of the way you operate now? You've recently moved from Loughborough to Derby, obviously experienced massive growth. We see the values of your business very clearly written on the website. Has some of that resourcefulness in making things happen, would you like to think that's still within the organisation now?
Absolutely. So from that point onwards, and up until maybe last year, the business and I suppose the family philosophy has always been self-reliant. So we took little risks. The loans we took were always within our own means of what we were able to be comfortable with business. We never put ourselves in a situation where the banks would want to monitor our accounts every month. We've heard of other businesses where scenarios like that's happened, and stuff like CPADs have affected how their relationship with banks are. We've always prided ourselves on being able to pay our creditors, our suppliers, and just ensure that we are able to look after ourselves and our suppliers in a self-sufficient way. So even with our growth, we've never been super ambitious, but we've always worked within the means of what we had. So I remember our first move to Loughborough. We bought a premises. It was massive at the time, but we quickly outgrew that in 3 years' time, because we bought a property that was within our means, and I suppose I don't know if it's a Chinese thing, but we've always prided ourselves on being able to purchase rather than lease, and so that was a freehold, and so it's this new building. So in the last 18 months, we moved into this massive warehouse in Derby, and a vast majority of it has been self-funded with help from the bank. But it was quite a big decision we made in the last 3 years to progress our growth. We've taken a slightly different stance and looked at where our 3-year projection, our 5-year projection, and so we wouldn't be in the same scenario as we were when we moved into Loughborough, i.e. having outgrown it in 3 years. We've got a 10-year strategy for this place.
Excellent. Okay, so it sounds like an evolution of thinking. As a business grown, you've grown as well. How do you think you've changed as a leader, as a business owner over the course of the recent years?
I think the biggest change for me must have happened maybe between 3 to 6 years ago. So I think the first step was when I joined a peer-to-peer networking group. It wasn't really a networking group. It was, I'll name it. Sit around a room and challenge each other and hold each other to account. So in business, and I felt this a lot, that the problems you take home with you on a day-to-day day basis of running a business, employee staffing issues, HR, customer issues, payment issues. It's hard to dissect that with a group of friends. I've grown up with a great bunch of friends back from high school. I'm still in touch with them now, but I've just been on holiday to Malaga last weekend with them. But not once did I talk about my business issues. It was about boys' banter and other things. So when they say it's quite lonely at the top, that's what you do find in business, in that if you don't have an outlet or someone to see things from a different view, it's hard to just look at things from a different perspective. So when I joined this group, it opened my eyes to open my mind about how a business should be run, how I should be talking to people, how I should be thinking, and how I should structure strategic elements, being able to forward plan. So all this, it's always scary when you're trying to do something like this on your own, but if you've got people around you who have been through the same sort of problems, i.e. staffing issues or a specific HR issue, you'll find that in the industry or other business owners, they would have gone through almost exactly the same thing, slightly different scenario, but they'd be able to advise. And it's always easy to look at another business and advise what's going on, because you're always looking at another business from outside, from slightly different level than when you're working in the thick of it. And so, prior to 6 years ago, that's all I thought I was doing, firefighting. I was a forklift driver. I was a HGV driver. I was a picker. I was an order taker. I did credit control, literally. Even, 6 years ago, we would have been, 16 years, 17 years in the business, and I was still doing all that stuff. And there wasn't much progression. And then all of a sudden, I hit that group, and then spoke to other business advisors. I brought myself a mentor on, and stayed connected with that group of business leaders who become really good friends now. So I could just pick up a phone and say, listen, I've got this issue. What can we do about it? And we've all been trained to ask the right questions, to ask open questions, to try to get that person to be coached out of the problem that they're in with a mindset. So I believe that that's what's happened with me and my way of thinking and how I've changed.
Awesome. I mean, that the concept of a business can't outgrow the owner is a concept for a reason. So that's a really interesting reflection that viewers will take a lot from. I think the other interesting area I'd like to ask you about is that you say you're a family business. There is, I don't know if is it brothers or nephews in the business as well with you now?
Yeah, 3 brothers.
3 brothers, right? Okay. Just explain to us how does that dynamic work for you? We often hear about family businesses almost they're having board meetings at a barbecue on a Sunday type thing because they can never quite create that separation. How do you guys make it work both as brothers and keeping that work-life balance aligned?
And what you just said then is a cliche of all family businesses. And we operated like that for, again, the good first 17, 18 years of our lives. And for me, there was never a family barbecue. I mean, up until this day, I've still not been on a family holiday with my parents and my brothers because of that work ethics that my father brought over from Vietnam. And so all we knew was 17 hours a day, 7 days a week in the business. And there was for long durations that it was just the brothers within the business. And obviously, as brothers do, you love each other, you hate each other. The boardroom meetings, there was never a boardroom meeting. There were round the table arguments continuously, and that's how it felt. But we operated. We knew what we needed to do for the customers. We knew we had to supply the best possible products, delivered on time, make sure the customer had everything that did. Behind the scenes, how we did it. I'll give you an example. There's a 13-year difference between myself and one of my older brothers, and so for me, having founded a business with my father, there was almost a generational gap in how we felt about work-life balance, how we introduced technology. My brother came in, and there was major disagreements, and essentially what's happened now is being able to establish defined lines about what is work, what is family, and we try our best to keep it separated. Ultimately, business talk always gets into our family meals. However, during the business meeting, we have set lines, and the agenda is quite strong in terms of it's the same agenda every single week, what our scorecards are, what we're doing right. So it's been able to have that structure and learning that we have to speak to our brothers in the same way that we do our colleagues. And most importantly, we can't talk to our other colleagues in the same way that we speak to our brothers. And yeah, that was learning the curve. And again, that came from an opening of our mindset, being able to change how we think about how we should run our business, and how that leadership of used to think that my way, I was the founder, I've done it right all this time, it's got us here, but it might not get us there. And it's about, for me, that journey of understanding that yes, this young brother who's 13 years younger than me, he has a point, I got to listen to him and try to articulate it in a way that we could both understand, and so the whole business would also understand.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Last question I always ask, Stephen, is as you reflect, is there anything that you'd have done differently, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I would have had guidance, counselling, mentorship a lot earlier in my life. I wish I listened to these books. I probably listen to a book a week now. I'm not a very good reader, so Audible has been amazing for me. So whilst I'm driving to work and stuff, I'm always listening to books. And I wish some of the books I listened to, some of the mentor I had as a 20, 21-year-old kid, about how to lead, how to implement strategy, how to implement well-being for myself, for my family members, for everybody else. Had I started that journey 20 years ago, I've been in a different position to where I am now. I am where I am now, I suppose, with that hardship, with that experience. But I just wish I'd picked up a book and thought, okay, this would do me some good back then.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, growth journey is a learning journey, so I can certainly relate to what you said there. Stephen, absolute pleasure having you on this episode of the Business Spotlight. I thank you for your insights, and congratulate you again on the success you've achieved so far, and wish you all the best moving forward. Thanks again.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure. Nice meeting you.
And to our viewers, we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Business Spotlight. Many thanks.